All right. Today on this Warhammer 40K competitive battle report, we have Ghaz and the boys. And by Ghaz and the boys, I mean 20 boys. All right. Not 10 boys. We're not slouching. It's Ghaz and 20 boys in Tactical Brigade versus the Necron Starshatter Arsenal. So if you're wondering how these two armies match up against each other, you're going to want to stick around because I'm going to take this 3-hour game. We're going to condense it down roughly into 20 minutes, giving you what worked, what didn't work, and simply passing that knowledge on to you, because I truly do believe if one of us gets better, then we all get better. So without further ado, let's get into it. So today we are playing Tipping Point. We are playing Lichpin, and I want to apologize in advance. The sun has been going crazy in the PNW. No complaints. We'll take it. Yeah, this is what happens, unfortunately, in the main room that I use. There's no way to really like block out this sun coming through, and it was just beaming. So we got cloudy weather coming. Won't have to really deal with it. For the time being, thankfully, a lot of the action occurred right here, and so we should be golden. So same build roughly with Starshatter Arsenal. And we're going against all the tough stuff. We're going against the stuff that the people want to see, all right? What the people want to see. So Orks got definitely a good glow up in this latest data slate. If you don't already know, Ghaz can get attached to 20 boys. Now, 20 boys were, already, they were pretty good. But, Ghaz makes it a lot more interesting, not going to lie. So there is going to be a beautiful maneuver that our boy Ken pulls off that I'm very excited to talk about on the report today. So definitely stick around for that little teaser, if you will. And let's go through kind of my thought process before we actually get to the score. So talking about Orks for a second, obviously their main strengths, it is a melee pressure type list. They have a lot of units. They have very strong board control. They have a lot of OC. Again, with a lot of melee pressure lists, they usually don't have a ton of shooting threats. So we, don't necessarily have to worry about, our DDAs getting popped off from downfield, etc. But we really do have to respect their threat ranges and what they can pull off. So, we're definitely measuring, where units can connect, etc. If you want to know more details on that, there are video or mastering videos on the channel that dive into those tactics a little bit further. But more or less, my headspace is okay, what can kill the warriors? And if you didn't already know, 20 boys and Ghaz, they can definitely do some damage to the warriors. Now you're probably wondering, okay, well, how exactly do you prevent that? Well, today we're going to show you. All right, so let's flip over to the game here, shall we? So, very close game, very close game, very good game. I actually have a game coming out next week against Tau, also very close game. It was literally a 1-pointer, couldn't ask for better. So great practice game. Again, playing Lichpin Tipping Point, and let's get into it here. So Ken's going to get first turn. He's going to get Sabotage and Area Denial. So we're going to go into his movement phase here, and it's going to be a pretty straightforward turn. He's going to be able to Sabotage with a unit outside this deployment zone. I believe it was a truck. And then Area Denial is going to be pretty easy with the new commando change. It can split into, don't quote me on this, but I think you can split unit of 10 commandos into 2 units of 5 as long as you have a truck or something like that. Or maybe they can just do it innately now. I can't remember, but something like that. So they're very good now. So I think you're going to see them in a lot of lists, no matter what detachment. So that's pretty cool. So pretty straightforward turn from him. We did stay out of the necessary threat ranges where he didn't really want to push that first turn, and he simply passed it over to me. Now, you're going to notice in my deployment here that we basically just have everything on the board. Because he has really strong board control and we're playing layout 7, there's not going to be very good opportunities for me to do any sort of rapid ingress play. Potentially the Tomb Blades, but I'd rather have them on the board in this matchup for utility. And then same thing with the DDAs. You're seeing that each DDA is conveniently placed in each corner, so we can essentially cover, all of our firing lanes here, right? So we can cover this classic X that you're seeing on layout 7, and then also giving us the flexibility to cover downfield So, we really just got all of our angles covered, and we're just basically putting himself in a position where, like, hey, you're gonna have to hit the warriors, and then I'm gonna hit you back, more or less. Okay, so going into our turn one, we're gonna get sabotage and extend battle lines. Okay, so we are going to move up here, and I'm gonna be honest, it's not really a super exciting turn here. So we are going to sabotage with Xeris right here. So he's going to get out of our Ghost Ark, which is right here. I am in the process of building it. I promise it's not going to be a white box for much longer. Okay. It's a little bit longer. We're going to have to deal with the white box. I said I would never build one of these freaking Arks ever again. But here we are. If you are a Necron player, you understand that kit is just, they look cool, but man, just painting and building, just not a fan, man. Not a fan. But Xeris, okay, he's going to sabotage and extend battle lines pretty easy. We're going to put our warriors right here. So you're seeing, our nice little Congo line here, and back to our synergistic pieces, which are actually over here, which I need to talk about before we go any further. So this is something that I experimented with, and why I actually wanted to play on this layout, because of the fact that if we clear this up here, where if we look at the board, this is our natural expansion. The problem is on tipping point is that your home field is right here, where normally on most layouts, you want to hold your synergistic pieces near your home field. But in this case, the problem is that it's so far away that when you're talking about trying to keep all of these pieces together, it can create some problems mid-game if you lose too many warriors, especially against an army like Orks that have the volume to actually get rid of them. You can run into some problems really fast. So I elected to kind of experiment with actually having the synergistic pieces over here, because it was still a very safe pocket. You're closer to your natural expansion and here, which creates a better area versus if you have them here. Okay, so hopefully that's easier to visualize as far as kind of like shifting those over in that corner. And I think overall it did play better, and I did like it. So now let's talk about the warrior placement here. Is very intentional as far as talking about the last game, where again, we want to limit surface area where the boys can hit. So we're really maximizing our wall space here, staying 1 inch outside, 1 inch outside. And then he has the flexibility to hit me over here if maybe he wants to. But again, it's a pretty long charge in Tactical Brigade, like an uncomfortable charge. I think it was still like an 8 or 9 inch charge if he got a high advance roll, which is not something you necessarily want to bank on. And even if he does get the charge off, like the brick is so spread out that it's harder to get all of that unit in. And that's the biggest thing that I want to highlight for like newer Necron players. If you're, trying to run the Warriors, I'd be the first to say, Warriors and Wraiths, let's be honest, are not really in the best spot right now. It's not like Necrons are bad or anything, but there are just so many melee threats, and the damage just keeps on just where, there are quite a few things in the game, if you don't position correctly, that are just going to one-tap these warriors. So this is a thing that I really do want to highlight on these battle reports, is showcasing like ways you could limit it. And really the main way is surface area and provoke intervene threats. And when we talk about surface area, basically it's like, okay, he can connect here on a charge, here, and here. And then we're making sure that if Scorpex charge in, right, we have heroic intervene threats covered at any point of the brick, right, with Xeris and everything else. So if they connect anywhere, Scorpex could end here, they can end here, or they can end here, or they can end here, right? So limiting what the boys can connect with, all right? So going into his turn 2, he is going to get an 8 on primary. We do end up killing the commandos with the DDA here. And then I think it was like a couple Xeris shots and got rid of them pretty easily. And this is where Ken's kind of deciding like, hey, do I want to go right now or not? He got a tempting target and bring it down, which the cards were kind of telling him no. Mainly because I made this a tempting target, and it's somewhat of a trap, because if he doesn't kill the warriors, then like I just reanimate on the point. Obviously, things get messy, okay? So he did not push this turn. Didn't call the WA. Tough to say if that was the right call or not the right call, but I will say it was the way we set up. I mean, it was a really long charge. We have this line the wall 1 inch, so we didn't give him really the best options here. So he is going to get a 0 on secondary this turn, and you are going to see him shift up and drop in a unit of tank busters over here. And this is the main thing I want to highlight in the movement phase, where he actually does not kill this DDA. I think he leaves it on like 4 wounds left or something like that, which, you know, I told him too, again, we talk about this on the channel all the time. There's very few units in the game that have access to like a shooting platform that can kill a DDA in one go. Again, a lot of times you're going to need 2 resources on that same firing lane to kill a DDA. And then here again is another example of that, where you have the tank buses go in, they get the DDA down to 3 or 4 wounds. It's not quite enough. And then DDA shooting back at +1 to hit with devs. You know, you probably already know what happened. So, not the best turn for Ken here. Things did not go really as planned, but he is staging more stuff up to really set up his WA turn going into next turn and like trying to make something happen here, okay? So going into turn 2, movement phase, we're going to get cleanse and no prisoners. Again, pretty straightforward turn. We are going to basically just keep the warriors where they're at. We're going to cleanse with the flayed ones. I don't want to bring anything else out, mainly because, you know, he hasn't drawn at this point overwhelming force or storm hostile. So if I put something on the center point, I could potentially just hand him a free 7 points. There's a lot of things that like top level players are thinking about. Is the points. They're always thinking about points, and that's cleanse a lot of times can just be a trap, because you're not only are you putting 2 different units on objectives, wasting 2 actions, you're also potentially giving up points to your opponent next turn, which you always want to be like cognizant of. So pretty simple turn for me. Not really much happened. DDA moved over here. This DDA shifted over here, so we drew double line of sight at the tank buses to make sure we got rid of that resource. And that was pretty much the turn for me. So we got no prisoners for 4 points because we killed the character and the tank busters. And that was pretty much it. So we pass it over to him, and this is his WA turn. So turn 3, movement phase. He is going to get an 8 on primary again because he holds his home and he holds his natural expansion. And here is where we are going to push. The boys are coming out to play, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so you notice I talked about earlier, we came in with a beautiful play. We got things positioned. We got everything going. Okay, so let's talk about this. So we have truck coming out, tank buses coming out. They're going to fire at a DDA. We had Storm Boys come in out of reserve. They're going to try to charge into, or I think he actually rapid ingress to them in on my turn. So they're going to fly over, come in. We have the unit of Gretchen and character. And then we have Ghaz's unit with the 20 boys. And then he's also running, I think, the mech that basically, like, they can just go through models, so you can't move block the unit. So if you're wondering why I didn't put, like, Tomb Blades or something like that, you can't move block them. I thought about it, but I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess you can't do that. So, but Ken does a beautiful move. So if you didn't already know, Ghaz comes with this little guy right here. Okay, let's zoom on this here, because this is really why you guys watch these reports. Okay, now this was freaking cool. Okay, so blade ones are on 28 mil basis, meaning they're 1 inching the wall. Orc boys cannot go through. Okay, they can't fit, right? But this little guy right here on a 25 mil can technically legally make a charge here, because he can base. He's on a 25 mil, so he can go through the wall and attack the flayed ones. Now, what does this allow him to do? Because it gives him a much more reliable charge, charging here 3 inches. So he basically separated, even though they're all part of the same unit, Ghaz with this guy right here, okay? So rather than having him make a 9-inch charge or an 8-inch charge or whatever, I think it was like an 8 or 9-inch charge to the Warriors, he charged here instead, a 3-inch charge, to allow him to swing the brick over, right? Because, again, we talk about this on the channel. Warriors can do the same thing. He charges here, and as long as these models can essentially swing over, right? And as long as they end 0.01 inches closer to the flayed ones, legal charge. But then what happens is, based on the pile-in, okay, the pile-in rules, is he can kind of game the charge where now the warriors are a closer target than the flayed ones on the pile-in, their closest enemy model. So then these models can pile in legally to the warriors, and it's like they basically made a charge, right? Now, let's see this in action here, and let's talk about this, okay? So he charges in, and you're going to see that happen. Now, what ends up happening is he gets a decent charge off, but again, like we talked about, surface area, it makes this unit in a very awkward spot to try to connect or maximize their volume with the warriors. So because he did not get a lot of them in, I did not need to heroic intervene with the Scorpex. I could have, I think, potentially, or actually, I think I did. No way, hey. I remember now. I did try to heroic intervene with the Scorpex as a learning opportunity. I rolled a 3 on my charge, which was unfortunate. So this is like a learning op. I don't think I needed to have them as far back as I did. I think if I had them like, and these are just like the little details that sometimes just matter, is having them right here or even on the base where they couldn't get shot. And then all of a sudden I make that charge, right? So just those little things to be cognizant of. I mean, granted, I did roll really bad, but like those things happen and those things are preventable. Like I could have done a little bit better positioning there on that. But again, you're seeing here, like he's not going to get a lot in because Ghaz could not connect here on the warriors on the pile-in, because it would have been nice if he could, because if he could base, then he could line all the orc boys up here and then have a decent amount of output to do some damage to these warriors. But that was not the case. So we're going to do our classic more or less trickery here, and he just basically bounces on everything. Okay, he does do a decent amount to the warriors. I think he killed like 5 or 10, I think, before rezzing. So they were like back here. And then, you know, classic stuff. Warriors are rezzing up, and we're trying to kill the Storm Boys, but don't really do enough there. And then flayed ones actually end up surviving. And they go after the, excuse me, the Gretchen over here. So he ends up bringing it down for 4. And he does not get Cull the Horde because he did not kill the warriors, but he does kill this DDA finally from the flash gets on that turn. Okay, so going into bottom of turn 3, we're only going to get a 3 on primary because we just hold our home field, and we're going to get Storm Hostile and Cull the Horde. So at this point, I could either kill the Orc Boys or I could kill the Gretchen, and this made it honestly a very interesting turn because I did not do as much damage as I was hoping for, because I still had all the DDAs up, standing still. They're in all the good firing lanes, right? We got Xeris, we got Scorpex ready. I was like, okay, like now we just freaking full send, kill as much as we can, and then you know, I think we got this. But we did not roll well, to say the least. I was rolling, I think, again, well on saves this game, but not good in the shooting phase at all. So warriors fall back. They're going to try to clean up. We do end up killing the Gretchen for Cull the Horde, and then we do Storm Hostile objective here. He did end up holding that objective for my turn. I think there was some positioning things that I could have done just a little bit better to edge that out, but he was able to take that over. So I was storming that objective and then just killing the Gretchen. So let's fast forward here just to keep things moving. And yeah, I just did not do really any damage to these boys. Like I think he was just rolling. He was rolling some 5-ups on this unit, if I remember. And then I double charged with the Scorpex, which I don't really know if was the right decision, but I was also like, all right, use it before you lose it. I'd rather just get this unit off the table. Just deal with Ghaz, and then the warriors don't really have any threats the rest of the game, and they just can kind of just roam free, right? So again, I think between both Scorpex, I killed like 10 boys maybe, and that was with, I mean, like what, 24 attacks hitting on 2s, full rerolls. Like it was just not good. Like way under damage, I felt like, on this turn. So he clapped back. He almost killed them all. But thankfully, the way they were based, he couldn't get Ghaz in with the right attack. So they ended up surviving and keeping that unit locked up in combat, which was huge. And then you're seeing here, like, even in Starshatter, I mean, the Warriors still have the output to basically come back to full. So going to turn 4, he's going to get a 13 on primary. He's going to hold this one, and this one. And we're going to get behind enemy lines and secure no man's land. So he's already got secure no man's land for 5. And then behind enemy lines, he is going to fall back or auto pass the Storm Boys and get behind enemy lines over here. So pretty straightforward turn. And then now he's basically going to kill this unit. And again, just try to press up with Ghaz and the boys. Just try to make it as annoying as possible. And, you know, he's playing a points game, you know, at this point. I mean, he's playing for points. So as he should. So he charges in with the boys here, trying to tie him up again. And again, it's just not enough output to get rid of the Warriors. And the Warriors clap back, kill a couple boys, and that was pretty much the turn. Okay. So going into turn 4, we're going to get an 8 on primary, and we're going to get area denial and secure no man's land. So area denial was interesting because these guys were exactly, I think, within 6 inches of the center. Totally intentional on Ken's part. So I think what we did is we sent up the, let's see, the movement phase here. Oh yeah, we charged in with the Warriors. So we fell back, shot, charge. Okay. So you're going to see that play out here. And again, I talk about this on the channel all the time. Using these units here as like a catapult. So not trying to kill them all in one go, but using them to extend your movement, especially with the Royal Warden where you have fallback, shoot, and charge, like where you're basically damaging them enough to then get a charge roll off to swing that unit around and get that extra movement to get on the objective. But so you're going to see that here. So we end up charging in and we kill the unit, consolidate back on the objective, get within 3 for area denial, and call it a turn. So that's some cool stuff that you can do with the Warriors there on full display. So going into turn 5, very close game. He's going to get an 8 on primary. He's going to get a display of might, assassination. He's going to cycle assassination and get cleanse. So he is in a good position where he could just move up for points. So he can move up on this objective, cleanse. He's already got a truck on this objective, cleanse. He has more units outside the deployment zone. That's one thing that you kind of just auto score with this list because I have a lot of my synergistic pieces in the deployment zone. So, you know, it just is what it is, right? So he's going to get that, and that is pretty much it. So he's going to shift up, see what he can do to the Warriors with the flash kits. He does do a decent amount, but again, we did kill his 1 brick that was able to neutralize the Warriors, and that was pretty much the game. So we're going to get a 13 on primary at the end, so we're going to get here, here, and here. And then we are going to get display of might and behind enemy lines. So basically, we just move all of these units outside of our deployment zone. And then these Ophidians are going to get picked up, just get put back here for behind enemy lines. And then that is pretty much the game and barely edging out 78-76 to the Crons. Crazy game, very close. And yeah, I mean, I will say, you know, maybe I think I don't want to say like I lucked out, but I will say, you know, this game report definitely does highlight, you know, even though there are armies that have the output to get rid of the Warriors, there are ways that you can mitigate that if you look for it carefully and you set it up carefully. It is a puzzle. It is definitely a puzzle to solve. But there are ways to, you know, try to counteract that a little bit. Which is cool, you know. So overall, you know, I've really been liking this list. I mean, it feels pretty solid. You know, I have thought about potentially dropping 1 DDA and just kind of bringing more stuff for arid scoring pieces or denying pieces just to kind of keep that scoreboard up. But other than that, felt really good. And as always, appreciate you watching. Stuck around this long, and we will also have a battle report up next week against the new Tau. All right, going against, I think it's was it Munka? Yeah, Munka, or maybe no, it's not Munka. It's Kion. It's Kion. Yeah. So, anyways, appreciate you watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace, guys.